Well, hello. Thank you so much for coming and spending some time with me, especially during the summer. I know your time is valuable, so hopefully, you learn a lot and take something important. I have this quote and it says, applying differentiated instruction can be a challenging task because it encompasses various aspects of teaching and it involves a lot more than just, especially when we have a group of kids, 30 kids, and they need something different. This is some things that we're going to cover today. And this is our schedule for today. We want to start at 9 o'clock. Then at 10 o'clock we'll talk about different instructions, 11 why different instructions is important, then we'll have lunch. 1 o'clock we'll come back and why different instruction is important. How does different instructions look like in class? I will provide you with some related materials and hopefully we can go home at 3 o'clock. A little bit about me. My name is Margarita Grushuk. I live in Pasco, Washington, and one cool thing that I like to share is this little girl will be in my class this year. She'll be at 3rd grade. And just to know me a little bit better, we'll have a little icebreaker. I have 3 things about myself, and you just have to pick which one is not correct. First one, I was born in America. And the next one is I have 6 children, and the third one, I speak 3 languages. So you can just shout out which one is not true.
Born in America.
I was not born in America, and I thought you would pick something different, like 6 children. People think I exaggerate. No, I don't. Now it's your turn. You do have a little sticky note. Can you please write 3 things about yourself? Make sure one is a lie. And then we'll just get to know you better. Okay, so we want to know you better. So can we start with you?
Yeah.
What's your name?
I'm Lexi.
Oh, Lexi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Okay, here are my things. I teach 1st grade. I have 3 children, and I've been married for 10 years this year. 3 children. Wow! You guys are good.
Okay.
Sometimes it feels like that. Big personalities.
What is yours, Laura?
I play lots of golf. I have lived in the Tri-Cities my whole life, and I have 3 children.
Tri-Cities.
I'm a Jersey girl.
You never know.
I play the piano. I have 5 children, and I lived in Pasco my whole life.
Oh.
Pasco. It is, but only because I lived in Richmond for like a year and a half.
Right, I remember that house.
And then you want to share yours?
Okay, I technically did not graduate from high school. I am named after my grandma. I broke my leg in 2nd grade.
I'm gonna guess the high school one too.
The high school?
You broke your leg.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
I graduated, but my diploma is from CBC, not from high school.
All right, thank you for sharing it, Priscilla.
Okay, mine is I've seen a bear in the wild. I love the outdoors and I don't like coffee.
Oh, the coffee.
I don't like coffee.
I was like, that's a little too obvious for me.
All right, well, we will know each other. We can move on. Okay, so we, as usual, as always, we have our norms in our school. So I just basically copy what our principal have in our school. Ask questions, engage fully in the learning, integrate new information, open your mind to diverse views, utilize what you learn, and monitor your device. just show me on your finger 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which one you choose to focus on today. Alright, okay, I love it. Okay, thank you. Again, thank you so much. All of you took the assessment test, I think a few weeks ago, and I was surprised that differentiated instruction has the highest, and I also looked at some other ones, like for example, teaching problem-solving strategies was the lowest, or aligning with state standards. So I'm thinking it's not because we didn't want it, I'm just assuming we probably played good at it, and we didn't want it more. So I chose, I mean, it seems like you guys all want different instructions, so this is what I'm going to focus on. And in this session, our goal is to, cover all of those things. What it is, why it's important. I'm gonna provide some examples, and how does it look like in class? I did a little research, but I was happy that this research is pretty old. This is teaching in higher education mostly follows a one-size-fits-all approach that does not effectively cater the needs of a diverse student population. Our goal is that our teachers use different instruction in school. So in 2005, it seems like it was still one-size-fits-all. While a few faculty in higher education have adopted different instructions, in general, it still prefers traditional lecture format. And from their own experience, I feel like traditional lecture is really hard on some of the kids. Well, current students, also known as millennials, are different from traditional students in several ways. For example, they don't wear watches or read newspaper. They cannot come to school and you say, hey, what did you read in the newspaper today? The kids will probably look at you and be like, what? Or like carry physical books. I mean, we still have physical books, but eventually it's gonna go away. Or handwriting. Because they rely on cell phones, laptops, iPads for their everyday tasks. Their social interaction mostly takes place through social media, blogs. So I'm gonna turn a little video.
Hello and welcome to Teachings in Education, Differentiated Instruction. Use differentiated instruction to meet the diverse needs of your students. Now, why should educators differentiate instruction? Well, here are several reasons differentiated instruction should be used in a classroom setting. First off, research has shown us that individuals are better at learning information through different modalities. Differentiated instruction allows educators to cater to learning styles. Next, you must differentiate the rigor of the content because students differ on performance and readiness level. We also recognize that some students will find certain material engaging while others will not. Teachers should differentiate activities as student engagement varies. Let's just say a teacher is giving a lesson on macromolecules. Some students will, quote, get it automatically, while others will feel lost. Teachers may have to differentiate because not all students learn the same material in the same time period. And let's not forget some of the specific types of students in the classroom. There are students with disabilities that require differentiation through modification and accommodations. Also, English language learners. So, how do you actually differentiate instruction in the classroom? Now, there are a bunch of different paths to differentiating instruction, but here is just one strategy that a teacher can use. And this is just one of many ways to differentiate instruction. First off, instruction must be standards-based. Differentiated instruction begins with selection of standards. Next up, determine readiness and student interest through diagnostic testing and learning style inventories. This takes place early on in units. Continuing, deliver varied content to students depending on their learning styles, interests, and content readiness. Follow that up with having students work on varied activities. After students complete the varied activities, take questions and review the standards with the entire class. Next up, provide students with various assessments and projects aligned to the differentiated activities and content. And the last stop, after assessments, again, review the standard with the entire class. You're still teaching an entire class. Again, I will say this, It is important to understand that the roadmap above is not a rule, simply just one idea. It is up to you to come up with your own ways to differentiate instruction. Now, let's take a look at some examples of differentiated instruction. Instruction can be differentiated through content, process, and product. Differentiated content is related to what the students learn, but again, you want it to be the same standard. Some students might reach functions on a standard while others are still focusing on the basics of a standard. The content delivery can be varied based on student interest. For example, some students read stories based on music, while others read stories based on sports. Moving on to differentiation by process. So for example, you can differentiate an activity by creating activity tables. Next, you can differentiate students through various groupings. You may differentiate students based on their levels of readiness, or differentiate the learning process through various number of learning styles. Have some tasks designed for visual students, like creating diagrams and other tasks for auditory learners. Lastly, you can differentiate the instruction as a product. Some assessment types might be in the best interest of one group of students, but not in the best interest of another group. Offer different types of assessments. Also try to incorporate projects and product assessments to allow for class creativity. Students can come up with their own ideas. And our last segment, what does a differentiated classroom look like? Here's what school administrators should look for when evaluating a differentiated classroom. The first thing they will look for is choice in student assignments. Choice in student assignments should be reflected in lesson plans. Next, administrators want to see more than one text being used in the classroom. Therefore, offer multiple reading texts for students. When differentiating instruction, there should be an overall feel of students having their needs met, and that is through personalized learning. Administrators like to monitor students and teacher through assessments, and they will look to see if students are being assessed in a variety of ways. Lastly, administrators will look to take notice if there is an acknowledgement of student learning styles. There should be teaching to multiple forms of intelligence. Right now, I would just like to say thank you for your time, and I ask that you please subscribe to this channel, as I'll be adding more videos on all different educational topics.
Hit the little arrows next to the three. Yep.
You covered a lot, I'll still go over it. So right now I want you to, because the first thing when you get a group of kids, if you have a lot of kids, you want to know their learning style. And I want you to look at this learning style. I know we have three most important ones, but I'm going to provide you with 7. And just show me on your finger, which one do you think you are? Which learner you are? Are you a visual? Are you a logical, social, or whatever applies to you? Just if you can show it to me real quick. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and give you a little piece of paper so you can read about each. I'll just really quickly tell you that, for example, I didn't know I was this one. And I remember struggling in school because when a teacher gives me a history book, we have to read a lot. And I read and I just don't get anything. And the whole class reads, I still don't get it. And then I remember my mom suggested, why don't you close your ears like this? And then maybe this information would stay with you. And now I look at this, I was like, wow, why couldn't I have some visuals when I was learning? Or why couldn't I, something logical? Because we do get some kids, you have to be logical for them. Or some, well, they're social, like to talk with each other. Or like if you don't provide visuals, they don't get anything. So I'm gonna give you a little bit, if you can just read your part, and then we'll just go over about each one. So I'll give you this one, you can read about this one. I'll give you 2 minutes so you can read about your portion. gonna go ahead and stop and let's just pretend in our class we got a visual student. We know he's a visual. Who has visual? Can you tell us just a few words? What would they look like?
It would be a student who's like jotting things down or scribbling, even if it looks like they're off task, they might just be writing stuff down that they can look at. It would be a student who's color coding and highlighting things as they're reading. And just a student, you can see they're always looking at the walls, referencing the stuff we have up there.
So that's great. Now I know, so for this kid, the lecture is not enough. Okay, what about when we have the auditory quiz?
This is a student who likes to like hear things and information, and probably paying attention and listening to you attentively. They like songs and learn things through like hearing the music or like different chants or poetry, little jingles, and yeah, just through hearing it over and over again.
So that would be great to know if we have a kid like this in class, that would be nice to know what exactly they like. What about physical?
For this student, it was saying that they could possibly learn through other modalities as well, but they need to be moving at the same time. So even though they could listen or they could read, if as long as they're able to move or fidget at the same time, like so, or touching things actually. So they kind of can do everything, but they need to be able to move and get their body going at the same time. So that was really interesting to me, that they can do all of those things at the same time as long as they're able to move through it. Cause I didn't know that, so. it's
Thank
kinda
you,
cool.
and I also want to bring an example. Sometimes you come to the class and you see a kid not sitting on a chair, but on a, like a jumping ball or something like that. So, kudos to the teacher, he probably or she knows what's going on, and that's why the child is sitting on in a different spot. Okay, who has verbal?
Verbal learners are learners that use a lot of words, and they have to manipulate those words through writing or speaking. And so writing essays and journalizing and summarizing are effective ways of learning for them. They can also outline and play word games.
Okay, and logical?
So a logical student learns best through finding patterns or organizing into like logical structures. And it often is applied with math, but it should apply to all learning as well. These type of students need to organize their learning, so like being able to make relationships between different concepts, or analyzing data or statistics, or even like the example they give is looking for different types of language structures inside of texts, and sorting or organizing activities would help them to learn the best.
Yes, I was thinking if for my math students, those that cannot memorize multiplication, I wanted them logical. Maybe they are logical, they need to like see how the pattern works, like 5 times 5, and then 5 times 6, that means you just add another group. So that maybe be illogical. I also have here is the social and the solitary ones. I already told you this was me. I like to be independent, individual. I don't learn much if it's like physical or like special if it's verbal. But this would be, or like a social, it would be the opposite. It would be someone that likes to collaborate, work with the team, talk it over. Okay, and this is kind of just a little bit of you with the you differentiate instruction, content, resources that kids use. What do you have in your classes? How are you using them? Or what do they create? And shaping lessons to match individual students' need. Like I said, when you get the 30 kids, it doesn't mean you have to have 30 different lessons. As long as you know what exactly the kid needs, there's a different chair, there's manipulatives. Each kid gets something different. And like the main point is we do need to have a goal. It doesn't mean we teach to our standards, we teach to a great level, doesn't mean you give them something very, very easy. No, you still teach them about, like for example, we have a marine life. You still teach them marine life, or they still have to write about informative text. Or maybe he really likes sports, then maybe he writes about sports, or you just adjust a little bit. There's another video, I'm just gonna go ahead and skip, but there's a lot of things also. When you plan your lesson, plan varied activities, create lesson using different strategies, different materials, make sure you have different things for different students because they're gonna come up and get whatever they need. Data is very important. When you have the data will tell you exactly what it is about your students and promote support. And if you can see, our goal is for kids to, they have to inspire love for learning, increase self-awareness, improve learning outcomes. This is our goal. We just have to remember this is the teacher and she thinks about all of those different things. And when you get your students, I can almost guarantee you might have all of this. You might have a kid who learns through music. So during the math, have the song on. Or maybe it's hands-on, or the logical, or the visual. This is who you might have in your class. And you have to put students, sometimes you put them into small groups based on what they need. So in the beginning of the year, I also noticed some teachers, they don't write their students' name on the desk right away because they don't know if this would be the best fit for students. I see sticky notes sometimes, because when they give them assessment, that's when they group the students, and this is what best for them. Personalized coaching for students to help with their individual struggles, a test that changes difficulty based on how well the student is doing, and customized collection of study materials to help improve their learning. Because there could be different questions to answer about a book that you teach your students. Sometimes when we do have a parents' conferences, we're like, the kid was great, he knew everything, I give them a test and he told it wrong. Maybe this was the test had to be a little bit different. Just move on to this one. A learning activity, student course application. First one, you have to understand what exactly students need. Then you make a list of activities, and then the final thing, you decide how to group the students, and then you can move on with your lesson. Tier assignments are tasks that have different levels of support, challenges, but they all aim to the same goal. For example, if students might pre-cut images in one task, label diagrams in another, create a little poster, somebody already making the presentation, somebody already presenting. So different things about learning about one thing. During reading time, I remember they had to read, it was a weather unit. So students had different level of books, but we still struggled. So I put some students on technology, which was epic, and they choose books that was read to them. So they still learn everything about the weather. It's just they were not able to read, so they had to, the book, they had to be read to them. And it's again, the reading materials, which visual aids you provided them. If you can use technology is very useful. Manipulatives, and of course your assessment has to be, different. And why technology? Because technology can be used to help teach a different instruction effectively. For instance, computer-based formatted assessment provide immediate, feedback. And some students, when they see a technology, it just automatically clicks. They know where to click. They know how to read, and they do the research. So technology is very useful to different instruction in your classroom. And this is just to wrap it up. Differentiation is the way teachers adjust their teaching to suit the individual needs of their students, helping them, to be in the same boat. I also would appreciate if you can scan the code